What? No, just kidding. What?
I'm not a fan of root beer. I do apologize.
We're not talking. Zober.
I don't know what it is. I don't know. The root beer is just...
Barks? Nothing. Nothing.
No.
Alright then. Root beer floats?
Nope.
Alright then.
Just root beer flavor in general is not my cup of tea.
What's happening right now?
I could have sworn I told you
What
this.
is... No, I know.
Like years ago.
By the way, I want to say I didn't lose a bet with this haircut. I don't know what's happening. Like, I just don't... I was looking at myself in the camera and I was going, why does it just look like there's a
cone?
I look like alfalfa.
Yes.
But like 20 years, he's older, he's been through some stuff. Just has that.
It's that little sink.
John Wick 3.
So good.
I'm telling you,
I know.
It's a irritating, violent argument that I'm having with... No, that's ridiculous. I'm having a violent argument with myself, but I do like John Wick 3.
It's amazing. It's honest to goodness amazing. Everything. I can watch this movie several times in a row and not get bored.
But see, I now will blame you. Because the only reason now, because as soon as the movie started, I was like, I'm sorry. It's better. It's a better movie. And then the whole time, the only other thought I could think of is what you said last time, which is, without the second one, you couldn't have the third. And it just ruins the whole thing. Because you can't throw... That's like...
Again, number 3 has a lot of my favorite moments from the trilogy. There's just so much that this movie does that's better than the other two.
Yeah, every...
But what I love about the second one is that it introduces all of this.
Yeah, they
in a really, really comprehensive and well done way. That's why I like number 2 so much. Is that you start hearing about the high table. You see the high table's reach. You see all these things, right? And then it culminates in the third one.
Yeah. Doesn't make me any less happy about it. I'm still going with it. But
that's fine. Dude, the third one's freaking amazing.
I know. No, but it's such a... Even the begin... So, I mean, I guess it picks up right where the second one ends.
Literally right where the second one ends.
And that's when, and we even talked about this when we started the movie. It was like, it's not even that this is like a trilogy, like 1, 2, and 3. It's like
it's
parts.
Literally all the same story. It's one story being told over multiple... They can't do it all in one
Can't
go.
you just say that you like that? I like all 2 and 3 can be equal. It's just one story. It's just It can. There's a parentheses.
I mean, technically, the first one leads right into the second one as well. So
don't do.
It's just John Wick. You can could say. Yeah, well,
this.
what I was gonna say is you could say it's just.
I don't know why am I getting
John Wick in a nutshell is literally just one entire story.
That's true. And does it really matter which one you like? Like over time?
No, it doesn't at all.
Especially because
I was just making an argument for why I thought number 2 was so good.
No, but now that we've watched 1, 2, and 3, watching 1,
3 has the most entertainment value.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But it was when I watched 1 again, and it had been so long, I was like, 1's the best. And then I watched 2, and I was like, no, 2's the best. And then I watched the third one, I'm like, the third one for sure.
Yeah.
And then I'll watch, and then this is what's going to happen again. Now I'm just going to watch the third one forever. And then
until the fourth one comes out.
That one's gonna
I'm wondering like what. Okay, so what we can do like right now. How do you go about doing the fourth movie?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's war. It will be war between John and the High Table.
But it's war, but I think it's going to be way less. It's not going to be him fighting groups of people, and he's not going to be hash and slash. I think we are going to see John in
peak. You think we're going to see John at 100?
And the other thing too is I think
he ends this movie at 90% unlocked or 95%.
Yeah, and that's just skill, that's just skill, not alone like his physical like health. Like if he wasn't all wounded and battered and hadn't been fighting for 3 weeks, like he's really going to take non-stop. I mean, remember he's got the knife wound in his shoulder, and you're like, yeah, and the bullet wound, and he just started naming all the things that like hurt, and I was like, yeah. So
no, he has so much more endurance than anyone else. He just takes everything and keeps moving forward.
Well, and I also think that we're gonna see, not that we haven't been seeing it, but I think we're going to see Baba Yaga. Like I think we're going to see him when he was like in the olden days.
Yeah.
Because we saw his talent of being able to like blend, like like when the other.
Well, that's what I mean is that we're going to see literally. We are going to finally not forever. We're going to finally actually see John Wick.
But I wonder like how it's going to be interesting too how they elevate it and make a twist, because we've seen 3 movies that have been action-packed, and somehow in each one they're able to dive more into either just the environment or his skills or whatever the case that in this one...
this one he's unlocking his old skills
but
again.
And I'm also just saying like horses, more like motorcycles, swords, knives, tomahawks... I mean, you name it. Shotguns. I mean, it's all deer slugs. Just it's like
armor piercing.
Like just everything you can possibly think of, and so it's going to be. And now you're going to have to kind of blend all of that into his ability of blending into the shadows and being sneaky. And it'll be like, is he going to do like a front flip over the guy and like slit his throat? Like all it'll be interesting to see what kind of like tricks they play into his ability to blend in.
Well, what I think they're going to wind up doing is it's going to be probably just more clean, variation fights of that last fight he had with what's his name?
Yeah, well, and I would also like to see like
what is that guy? We never hear his name.
Who?
The Asian dude. We never actually get his name, do we?
I'm not sure yet. And so why did it pause when the subtitles, or not the subtitles, the credits were going?
Because you clicked pause.
Oh, okay.
Why did it pause? Because you paused it.
Don't judge. No. Hall. I know we're jumping all around here, but who cares? We're going back to the beginning-ish. That hallway scene with all the knives and things,
yes.
By far the best thing that I have ever seen, for sure. It's
because it's a very real knife throwing fight, which is so interesting. Because with most things like this, I can give a very good example with what's the movie? Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And you remember when they have that final showdown with both of their companies, right? Mm-hmm. So she has that knife rack. Yeah. And she just starts throwing knives, and it's a hit every time. Death. One
every time right in Mr. Smith's leg.
But you understand what I mean? It's like every single time, like there is no there's no lack of precision, right? Whereas with this particular fight, you have the knives not always sticking. You have them hitting with the back of the knife and bouncing off. You have them blocking other ones with another knife, and then throwing back, and that one not sticking. You know, so you have you have a much more realistic, deadly knife throwing fight with ones that don't end up actually being thrown correctly in the middle of the fight, which makes sense. For an actual fight.
That's true. I will say, though, that in, like, the hallway fight with John Wick, they're all, like, moving and dodging and, like, trying to, like, switch their positions to... And in, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, she's got stability. She's on the thing. She's got clear access. Everyone who's, like, looking for them is moving slow, walking very still. It can be a more precise throw. I mean, I'm not giving it 100% credit. It is the Tomb Raider. But... No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. But, But regardless...
It's a fun movie. I still love that movie.
That movie is so much fun.
It's so fun
because it like speaks to like it has like a little ode to like the in a blown out sense like marriage and that duality of like
that's what I love about it. And then they make up afterwards.
And it like the outpour of like. Again, I always get way too into it. But the outpour of, like, when they finally, like, have that truth moment, they're honest with each other, then that's when they go, oh, okay, now we can really, like, connect and move on. But...
Who was that kind gentleman that gave you away at our wedding? Paid actor? I said I saw your dad in Fantasy Island. I know.
What's her name? No, you're not going to kill her. That movie is just so much fun.
What's her address and social security number? That's
you're not gonna kill her. That movie. Okay, back to John Wick.
But that's what I mean, though. It's like
for sure.
You can see a difference in that. In that regard, it's just people who are so good at their job that it's makes everyone else look like children. Now John is like that. He makes everyone else look like children.
Yeah,
but. Even though he does do that, and since they're his movies, I mean, nothing is really, truly going to happen to him.
Right.
But at the same time, he still gets hit.
Yeah, he gets...
If you notice, he gets nailed at least once, if not twice, by a couple of their knives that he pulls out and reuses.
Yeah, I think, and it's... I don't know, maybe I'm just, like, because I want it to be true, but, like, he gets hit and doesn't he, like, pull it out, and then, like, that guy gets knocked on the ground. It just seems like maybe he's just using his emotions, but he's just like, just, like, take one after the other, and I almost, like, want to believe, like, that was the guy that hit him, and he's just like, you want some knives?
I don't know if it was the guy that hit him. I can't remember. I thought it was the guy behind him.
I will say, though, for whatever reason, and I've watched this movie, again, way too many times, and I've never been able... Like, you see me, I'm, like, cringing at all of... Like, that was the first time I was able to watch, like, him, like, drive, like, the knife, like, through the eye. And it's so...
Yeah, it's so brutal.
Again, like, I don't know how they do it, and that's fine.
It's a CG knife.
I know, it's still, like, you gotta... and you gotta react. See, that's why I can't...
It's terrible.
I can't do, like, contacts. I tried to, like, go and do, like, contacts one time.
Oh, are you one of those people that can't stand, like...
touching my eye. She was like...
I did that to you once at work, I think.
What?
Like, I went like this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I don't know, like, maybe it's just, like, because I can't, like, see, and so, like, my perception of it, like, I can't, like, my finger still feels like it's far away, like when I'm trying to look at it.
And all of a sudden you're touching your eye.
Yeah, it was the eye doctor or whatever was like, all right, it's very simple. Like, before we get started, we just need to, like, see that you can, like, touch your eye and that you're okay with that. And I was like, yeah, this isn't going to work. She's like, you didn't even try. I was like, no, I tried. You didn't think I tried, but trust me, I put enough effort into it to know.
The mental strain I went through, you cannot possibly comprehend.
I'm still going through it. She's like, I really need you. Trust me, it happens to everybody. You're fine. You're not gonna poke your eye.
Yeah, no, I just.
And so then I went like maybe an inch close. See, I'm even trying to now, and I have glasses on, so I wouldn't even. But I'm seeing that, and that's what's freaking me out. Oh. No, see, and so then I walked out and like, I was young. My family was like, "So how'd it go?" And I'm like, "Went well." And the doctor's like, "No, it didn't. No contacts for him." "Oh, what happened?" "Oh, just my eyesight. It wouldn't work." You try to come up with that. Yeah, that's not the case. Yeah, so
wasn't it just as simple as this?
Oh my goodness. I can't do it. Yeah. So this movie, okay, one thing that like really stuck out like for me is how important or how they kind of, it's interesting like the balance or the duality of like the rules that they play with, because on the one hand like John has clearly broken a rule, right? But I find it interesting that the high table has decided to go after the people that helped him, but while they were helping him, they weren't necessarily doing anything that was breaking the rules. Like even like the Bowery was like, it's a contract. I don't have to fulfill a contract. Like, and what like it's.
Well, I think if I'm recalling correctly, she talks about how he killed a newly appointed member of the high table, which I think in and of itself was breaking essentially a
so but yeah, but that means like rule. Does that mean that they're expanding it to the idea of causality, like because what they did
they're probably doing essentially what we did for a bit, which was really stupid, was guilty by association.
So then they just assumed that everyone was. I mean, and of course, like it's understandable.
And Valerie's defense, what he could have said too was like, "Do you really think that I thought John Wick would get through with it?
Yeah.
Who's to say that I didn't think John Wick would actually die?"
Well, and that's what's like even like so and like even, but then you see the other sides of it, like so. Then there's that respect side, but also skirting the line, because you see like John clearly after this moment needs to rely not only that everyone is going to uphold the rules, but in some cases are willing to break the rules. Like when he goes to the Roscaroma and he's like, I have my ticket.
Well, and it's not necessarily breaking the rules. It's choosing which rules to abide by.
Yeah.
Because they're all rules. So they can either choose to break the high table's rules, or they can choose to break their own internal rules. Remember?
Okay.
Because the ticket was a rule for them internally.
Yeah.
So they ended up choosing to go with their internal rules and break the high table's rules.
But I'm just trying to. Well, I think like what I'm trying to like maybe like
John Wick is obviously like taking in favors, but.
Let me pose you this question then. Do you think the high table in any sense is skirting the rules to a point where it is making it unfair is the wrong word here, like but you know what I'm trying to say, like because you know how at the end of this movie it is clearly and rightfully so, like it is now going to be John against the high table, but like the high table has been manipulating everything, and without everybody underneath the table, there wouldn't be a high table. So it's now like the bottom going like, look, we know how to follow all these rules. We understand like the hierarchy and everything, but has the high table been like pushing
has the high table lost the whole purpose of why we do this?
Yeah.
Or lost the point?
Yeah. That's the question I pose.
That's an interesting way of looking at it, because that could be the way that they go about it in the third movie.
And do they?
Because that's a really, really good point that you bring up. Is has the high table lost the respect of under the table?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a really interesting point that you bring up.
Because I mean, don't get me wrong. John is not making it easy for them to not skirt it. You know what I mean? Right. Like John is definitely going, hey.
He is poking the bear.
He's poking a very large, but he's being so thorough about it. Like what I love.
Yeah, it's not a poke to poke the bear. It's a poke to be more like. God, how can I say this? There's a way to say it.
I was thinking like...
It's more like he's poking the bear to remind the bear of its promise to him.
Alright.
Let me explain. You remember in the second one, when he finally gets back to his house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, who's the high table guy that he kills? Santino shows up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he says, don't ask this of me. Find somebody else. He warns him. He's like saying, do not do this.
Right.
You understand that I'm actually out. And admittedly, Santino had a good point. Like, you dip one, and John was warned.
Yeah.
You dip one toe back in here, you might not be happy to see what reaches back.
Mm-hmm.
So, good point on that. But John warned Santino, and then Santino went back on his own word and broke his own rule by going after John when he contracted John to kill his sister.
Yeah.
So it's more like, instead of John like going ha 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 ha, it's more like, hey, you broke your promise.
Yeah.
So I'm now going to be a thorn in your side.
Yeah, it is like the dynamics of the high table and what's under the table, but the hierarchy under the table is also really fascinating, like within management.
It's amazing to look at.
But it's like you said at the beginning of this, it's so like if you really watch it, it's very comprehensive.
It is.
Like it's not like
and like the management are not necessarily, they're not on the level of a high table member, but within their own jurisdiction they can supersede a high table member.
Yeah.
Which was really interesting.
Are you talking about the amnesty?
No. I'm talking about in number 2 when Santino tries to revoke John's membership to the Continental.
Okay.
And he says you cannot, you can't make that call and everything. I was like, what?
Damn. Well, I mean, even in this one too, like everybody's on the chopping block. Yep. John Wick is completely excommunicado. Everybody has a contract to kill him, mm-hmm. But yet he goes to Casablanca and the manager grants him complete amnesty.
But because of what he did for her.
Well, he does hold the marker for sure, but it's interesting. Like that's still.
Also, remember she shoots him immediately.
That's true, but that still takes some giant.
Oh yeah,
like that is not.
He's the entire time. Every decision he makes, he knows that this could be the last decision he makes. He always knows that taking this particular road will very likely lead to his death, and he knows that full stop.
But he's so focused on his goal, he's willing to do whatever it takes.
He's willing to risk his life continuously.
Yeah. Like, and I don't even think on some like in his mind. I mean, maybe in the early, but not like he doesn't even, that question or that thought doesn't even come up. He just goes, okay, well now I got to do this, and if it doesn't work out, he doesn't even have that. It's just I'm doing this, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing this.
And again, like the elder of the high table, obviously the one that sits above the high table, the elder, again, who seems so much younger than John. He has to be young. But I mean, maybe he's like only half a decade or a decade younger than John or something like that, right? Because Keanu Reeves himself is in his 60s.
Yeah, but I almost wonder, like, because you know how when, like, of course, when they're there, there's of course people that are clearly working for everyone in the tent. But while
Right.
he's sitting there, there's like a council of elders like behind.
Yeah, but it's him though.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
guy
he's definitely
is
the
the
one.
head.
He's definitely
Yeah.
the one. But like,
But those are people. Those are like his. It's not really a council of elders. Those gentlemen would be. What's the word I'm looking for?
like mentors or
Not necessarily mentors, but advisors.
advisors.
Those would be his advisors.
Well, do you think it's one of those things where like when there's probably like some sort of ritual, like is the master, or not the master, but the one that stands above all, like is chosen at a young age, and then
That's an interesting thought.
I mean, because
That could be, well, because that could very well be like royalty. When you think about it, is the education of their children from the time that they're born is to take over as royalty.
Yeah, and
so you could see it. You could say it that way. There's actually a really good analogy I have for anime fans in an anime called Magi. Or Maggie. I still can't find the correct pronunciation of it. I think it's Magi.
Tomato.
Yeah. But the whole point of it is actually taking the story of Aladdin and making it much, much, much bigger. And Aladdin being something called a Magi, who is a keeper of a genie.
Mm-hmm.
So Aladdin is someone that someone of royalty would try and find and help them become what they are destined to be.
Right.
So that's who Aladdin is in this particular story. And the person that he ends up helping, who he doesn't necessarily know is royalty at the time, and is actually fighting another royal in the Middle East. All of a sudden, when that royal starts fighting him and he starts losing, he goes, the only way I could be losing right now if I'm fighting another royal. Is if I'm fighting someone else who has been trained since birth in stored play, in knowledge, in all this stuff. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So when you say that he could have been chosen from when he was born, that actually makes a lot of sense. That could be all those advisors could not just be his advisors, they could be his tutors and teachers and masters and stuff like that in all different aspects. So for all we know, he could be not only just the head of the table, but he's the one who really does know everything that's happening. And that doesn't just know everything that's happening. He may actually be a crazy assassin himself, for all we know.
I mean, and you would have to imagine, especially if he was chosen at a young age and risen up like this, he's
been sent to go do missions that are ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm sure. And now look, I'm an idiot, so what the hell do I know? But one of the other, and the reason why I say this is because, like, I had an even crazier thought, and this just points to maybe I should just stop watching these movies so much.
No. If it's a good idea, it's a good idea. But, so what are you thinking?
Okay, so you know how, like, I don't know, it's almost like an attack against, like, our system itself, right? Like, you have the rich and powerful who kind of not consequentially, but they manipulate everything that's underneath. And here's this guy who worked for the system, right? He worked for, like, and just thinking like reality, like we all like.
I know where you're going with this. I just have one way of. I don't see it as paralleling our current system. I see it paralleling a normal, like, actual what's the like
a class system?
Yeah, but what's the term I'm looking for? Shit. What is a kingdom? What is it called?
A kingdom?
Yeah.
We have phones.
So
see, and this
some kind of
this is why I said we're stupid.
So there's a theocracy, which is church is the leader. There's a republic, which is what we have, where there is an elected leader. You have a parliamentary system, which is like England and France and most of Europe. You have a parliament where you have, again, elected officials, and then a kingdom where you have a king who is the head of state. You have a royal family. That is called a... What is it called?
Levels of social classes.
Well, no, you want to look up what is a kingdom called? What is a government called that has a king? Sorry, people, this is going longer than I thought.
We can edit most of this out. And then it'll just appear like we were super smart. A monarchy.
Thank you. Why couldn't I forget? I kept going patriarchy, matriarch, and going like, that's wrong. That's not what it is.
We did it,
okay,
folks.
monarchy.
We did it, folks. But like, here's
I see it more like a monarchy. With so you have the elder who is above the high table, right? Then you have the people at the high table who are the nobles.
Like royalty, nobles.
Royalty, and nobles are royalty.
Right. So like king,
dukes,
royalty,
barons, all those, duchesses, all those
and
underneath.
Then you
have knights, which is another form of royalty, but those are the
managers.
Those are the managers, and then you have the foot soldiers, which is everyone else.
Right.
And then peasants, which is the normal people that have no idea that this whole world exists.
But sometimes do when they get muttered a phrase. It's like everyone's under a hypnotic spell, and then it's like...
Yeah, for all we know, Halle Berry's daughter is not actually out of it. She's actually just an assassin somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't know. The daughter seems... But like...
And John's wife was supposedly like a normal person.
Yes.
In normal society. But again, like, as you watch the films, you're like... Everyone is somehow in it.
Yeah, well, it's
in one way or another.
It's the only
unless
thing that
everyone can recognize everybody.
It's Order 66. It's like you don't know until you're told that. It's like,
I guess
it's like
it's a trigger word.
Yeah, it's like a trigger word. Like, hey. Like, I'm not, because at first I was like...
seeing that coin somehow triggers something in a regular person.
I mean, that's way too crazy, and it's not, but...
Yeah. But... If they wind up going that way, I'll be very disappointed.
No, that's what Matrix 4 is.
Oh, God.
They go, surprise! This has all been
the Matrix.
Yeah, this has all been the Matrix. Would you like the
Why
blue
do you
pill?
think John doesn't die?
Or the red pill?
Why do you think he can take so much damage? He's still Neo.
John, come with me. You're not who you think you are. You're somebody
Oh, God. If in like the fourth movie, he sees a red or blue pill at one point.
Yeah, well, no, that's because the movie comes out on the same day, so you watch John Wick 4, and at the end...
Are they actually coming out the same day?
Well, that was the plan before the, current situation.
I hope not.
Yeah. Well, that was the plan. I thought it was cool. It's interesting. It's something new. I am not excited for...
I'm not excited for Matrix 4.
We've talked about this like twice now. And I still... Well, you haven't even seen the trailer. You don't even know what it is. You don't even know what the concept is.
Here's my reasoning, is that the third movie closed it off, I think, relatively well. I didn't really like the third movie all that much, but I think for the story, it finished. I think it was done. I didn't think it needed anything further past that point.
Yeah, but then all these guys got together and they made John Wick, and they're like, how much fun would it be to make Matrix 4?
Are they making Matrix 4?
Yeah.
It's not the Wachowskis?
Isn't the director of this movie?
He was the fight choreographer for Matrix.
And they're like coming together.
So it's like him and the Wachowskis?
I think so. I mean, I don't know. I could all be just making this up.
Dude, I learned about like the Wachowskis' original idea for the Matrix. Like, remember how in the Matrix we're used as batteries?
Yes.
In reality, that would never work. Because in order to keep us alive, it would take more energy than the energy we output.
Oh, I see.
But what the Wachowskis originally had planned to do, which actually does make a lot more sense and actually could work, is use us as like a giant hive mind computer. Use our brains for processing power. Because our brains are the ultimate computers. If we had complete control of our brain, you know how they talk about how we don't use 100%? We do actually. Our brain is constantly using 100%.
But 10% like at a time, right?
Any point where we are actually in control of our brain, yeah, it's roughly like you can actually control roughly 10% of your brain at a time.
But 100% is being utilized.
Correct, yes.
Because that would be weird.
Yeah, no, I really do believe if we could actually access at all times, if we could really physically use 100% of our brain consciously, that would be nuts.
Well, and this is going to get either really science fiction-y or I'm an idiot. But no, what if I just keep saying that and that won't be my defense? It is. What the hell was I saying?
You were talking about either how this, whatever you were going to say, was going to be philosophical or science fiction-y.
But what were we talking about?
I was talking about if we could actually consciously use 100% of our brain. How our brain is being used all the time. 100% of it is being used. But we only roughly control 10% at any one point.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I had said it would be amazing, like, what we could do if we could actually consciously control 100% of our brain all the time.
Damn. And
you were going somewhere with that, man.
Yeah,
I was excited
I know.
to hear what you said.
And then I was like, I thought about it, and I knew, like, I was like, this is so stupid. And
no, but the stupid things can wind up being so good.
It won't come back to me.
Damn. Oh, man, that would have been so good, though. Dang it.
I know. Don't you hate that?
I do. I really want to know what you were going to say. Man.
So we're talking, but only 10%.
That I believe we can consciously use at any given point.
I got it.
Okay.
So I was reading somewhere that, like, in our unconscious minds, that, like, all knowledge is there. So...
Well, that's why dreams can be so amazing.
Yeah, so I thought, like, so that's what made me, like think about it. Like, if we... Because you were talking about the hive mind of the Matrix.
That was the original idea, which actually makes sense. If they can use our brains as processing power, that's ridiculous.
This is why I have such a fascination with,
and then the producer said no.
Well,
dumb.
I wonder if it just made more, like, sense to a larger audience. It's like, because it's not like that big of a digestible need.
No. But that was the producer's reasoning for saying no. Was that the audience wasn't going to get it.
Oh. Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean the audience isn't going to get it? We know what a computer is. We know what a processor is for a computer. If they're using us as just additional processing power, that totally makes sense.
Especially, nowadays it totally makes sense. But this movie even back then, you're absolutely right. But even back then, I mean... I definitely watched that movie, and, like, I'm not saying that people are stupid and that's the wrong way to go about it, but I definitely watched that and I was like, all right.
I will admit that it didn't it didn't really affect anything when I initially watched the films. And for a long time, it didn't affect anything.
Yeah. Well,
until I really learned about it, I went like, well, hold on. It takes a lot of friggin' energy to keep just a regular person alive. You're doing that for billions of people to only use their natural body energy. That definitely does not expend as much as it's intaking.
Maybe they're pumping us full of Red Bull and we all have wings.
So that pinkish red liquid is.
Yeah, it's
just constant Red Bull.
It's just. I like Red Bull. You like Red Bull? Let's get a Red Bull. We should share Red Bull. I like Red Bull. Red Bull.
Why do I feel like that's from something?
Yes, man.
Oh
Jim
God,
Carrey.
yes.
When he shows up to go running and he's like, I had a Red Bull. We all had a Red Bull. You want a Red Bull? I like Red Bull. We share Red Bull. After this week, let's go Red Bull. Red Bull? I like Red Bull.
Jesus. I can't drink Red Bull.
Nobody can. Do you remember those BFC monster cans when they first came out? They were just like massive.
So bad for you. And it tasted like you were drinking something radioactive.
But to me, I will always say it tasted like sour gummy bears. The green sour gummy bear.
Yeah. But
the green one.
But radioactive sour green gummy bears.
I mean,
there was some. It tasted like I was drinking chemicals.
Yeah, but you know what? Back when, especially when that came out, and if that was the case,
doesn't mean I didn't like it though.
I'll take some superpowers. That's how that works, right? No, I was gonna say I've been fascinated with this idea that myself, I think too much. And if I started not think as much and just let just natural reaction and just let the unconscious just kind of go. And so, which is, I've been alluding to this the last 2 podcasts, not to fake it out, but we keep I keep saying something and then now we're talking about it. I was doing the second one. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember this, but in the second one I said, hey, when we watched the first one, I said, oh, I like taking cold showers, and then said nothing for the rest of it.
Yeah.
And I brought it up in the second one, and then again never said anything else about it. And so I've been on this whole not journey, but I've been on this whole trying to I read this book that was called Thought as a System.
Okay.
And again, and I've said this many times, I'm stupid. Don't worry, I didn't lose the thought. But it's this understanding that thoughts have no emotions, one way or the other. I'm going to explain this horribly, but thoughts have no emotions, they're not good or evil. It's what we put, and it's the inflections that we put on them. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes when a thought comes in our mind, when you're driving and you get cut off and you get super upset,
your immediate reaction is, I want to ram that person.
Well, the thought that came in is this guy cut him off, but the thought didn't inherently make you upset. All the emotions of all the other times that you got cut off were all brought up, and so that's what empowered the emotion. Being you weren't really upset that the guy cut you off. You just had so many. It was like a built-in reaction.
It was okay. Enough's enough.
And enough's enough.
Yeah, I've put up with this enough. Yeah.
So it's this and so if we can start to let because thoughts are still going to happen, but we don't need to. We can just let them come and go. We don't need to always grab and hold on to them. And so I started and there's all this research about that we kind of have what's that, and I don't know medically if it's true because who knows, I'm dumb. But that we have kind of 2 brains, our stomach and we have our mind and body, and there's a connection there, and the more that we're able to utilize that connection, the better off we are. Have you ever heard of this guy named Wim Hof? He's called aka the Iceman.
Yeah.
He has this whole that's been a lot of his study over the years, is trying to dive into that
mind over matter,
the mind over matter, but a connection with mind and body, and utilize them in synchronicity.
Are you thinking synchronicity?
Yeah, right.
Or in sync. In sync. Yeah, that's a better way to say it.
Because big words are difficult.
I also don't think that. I don't think what I said is a word. I think I came up with that.
But in sync. So, and there's like a couple of different ways that he's done this. And one way, he found this method like through the cold, and he's done like.
Well, yeah, he runs barefoot and in boxer shorts.
He climbed Everest with no shirt on.
Really?
Yeah. The guy's he's done some really, really crazy things, and
I'm assuming no oxygen either.
I don't believe, possibly he had oxygen. I'm not fully sure on that. I would imagine
maybe he had to carry it as like a precautionary thing.
More
than
likely
him to carry it or something.
More than likely, which we will need to spend a whole other podcast talking about like Everest and things like that, because there's some fascinating things. But
Everest
like
is amazing.
Wim Hof, he really interesting story, his like life story, but he found his truth or his drive or who fundamentally through the cold. And what the cold allowed him to do was really, and because like especially like you've probably jumped into the ocean, jumped into a cold tide, your body like you freeze up and and your mind just
you actually go into shock.
Yes. Yeah. So what he was able to do is create or whatever is a technique of breathing. Which is about it's a very interesting, and I'm gonna butcher like the like science and stuff behind it, but it's the idea where you basically take in 30 breaths, so you breathe really far in and it's a slow exhale and then right back in, and it's a continuous, like a wave. You're just in and out, in and out. And what happens is your oxygen and your pH level reach like a certain height where you're
you're hyperventilating because you're.
Well, you don't need to breathe because you reach this level where like your oxygen and your pH level are so high that you're like in balance, and it's and again I guess like we have something called the endocrine like system, and like your adrenaline, and so it's all that like connecting your mind and body. It's about letting go, like releasing like your thoughts, and because we put so much strain on our bodies, like we worry about what's that ache in my foot or what's that tingling. So it's about just like feeling and being in the moment and releasing all sorts of, and just understanding and feeling what's around you. And there's been a lot of studies on and it's like a form of meditation. What I've really realized is like this technique really allows you, like, how like when you start meditating, even people who've been doing it for years always say that it's super hard to just sit there and focus on your breathing and let thought just kind of disappear. It's really hard to like let go of all those emotions.
Yeah, meditation.
I've really found this, like, and while I'm trying to get more into meditation, this is something that's been like a really core that I've been doing like solidly for the last 6 months.
Okay.
It's about 10-minute exercise. I do it like twice a day, or like especially if I'm having like a real rough day and I can find like a 10-minute break. Mm-hmm. You can do there's 3 rounds. Sometimes I'll just do the first 2 and that's good enough. Like, it's really interesting. So you do these 30 breaths, and then you reach like an oxygen pH level, and then you exhale. You take one last breath, you exhale, and then you go a minute without breathing, and you just kind of after you've exhaled, and you just relax. And the whole idea is you're just there. You're not worrying about what you got. You're just being in complete relaxation.
I used to do something kind of like that, just for fun, because it was my dad and I would used to when I was younger, we would have competitions to see who could hold their breath underwater longer, right? And so he told me about hyperventilating, and what you're doing is that you're oversaturating your blood with oxygen, so it allows you to go longer without needing to take in oxygen. Which is kind of what you're talking about. Yeah. You're saturating your blood with oxygen.
David Blaine has a similar technique that he used
exactly. Mm-hmm. But what I used to do, because it was actually just kind of a nice, quiet thing to do, is when I was in the pool, I would hyperventilate. I'd do like maybe 10 to 15 breaths like that, really big, huge breaths, and then I would blow everything out and sink to the bottom, and then I would just sit there for as long as I could before coming back up. And it's usually about 30 seconds to a minute that you're able to stay down there with no breath in your lungs. So you'd either sit down there like either like this, with your legs crossed, or you'd sit, in the fetal position, just kind of like being there. So
it's amazing that clarity that you find just within those 30 seconds, like, and additional like research in this outside of Wim Hof, just in the ideas of like meditation, was this understanding, like, because I really like the idea of being productive, but what like a lot of people find in being productive, especially in my case, is I try to be one of those productive multitaskers, and it's almost a proven fact that multitasking is not very productive. Like if you focus on one thing, you're more likely to be more successful if you spread that attention out and trying to do 4 things at once.
Right.
But yet, especially if you have a productive mind, or you keep wanting to accomplish things, you'll keep trying to take on 10 things at once, and you'll just keep taking it on.
Yeah.
And so there's this guy that wrote this book, and I'll leave it in the description, but it was a book on being productive, like how to be more productive. And I started reading it, and the moment it started, it was like, this book is about meditation. And I was like, meditation? How are you supposed to be productive if you're just sitting around like doing nothing? And but it interested me because I was doing the Wim Hof like breathing technique, and even though like the breathing thing was a 10-minute session, it was 3 rounds, so 30 breaths a minute, 30 breaths a minute and a half, 30 breaths a minute and a half. So minute no breath, minute and a half no breath, minute and a half no breath, all with intervals of 30 minutes of breaths in between. Okay. And each stage, like I would highly recommend that anybody that would try it, like you can find it on YouTube. He has an app. This will speak to how stupid I am. I've been doing the YouTube video forever because it's like 10 minutes. It's very straightforward. And there's like nice meditative music in the background. And quite honestly, like he's on the video, like kind of doing like one of those like guided breathing things, which on the normal sense I can't stand. Like the guided meditations, I'm like, how am I supposed to not concentrate on anything when you're talking in my ear? But like for the whatever way that he like takes pauses, and he really like what he's telling you is like, it's more of like what, like it gives you that idea of, oh yeah, let me just like, because he goes like, breathe just like a wave, like, in with peace, out with stress. And then like when you're not breathing, he goes, just feel, you're like, because he like, it's, and I'm not saying like it does help. But all of a sudden I tried the app. This is where the stupid part gets. And I go, well, let me try the app, because I really like, the more you do it, the more you're able to kind of hold your breath, and the more you kind of find yourself, and not in like a for lack of a better word, like wanting to not breathe. Like that's where I find the most like clarity, is after I've done all the breath, because the breath work can kind of be like a little angry.
You can also end up getting very lightheaded.
Well, if you really like it, like if you're really like into the rhythm and just like it, like into it, you really like, you can feel like it's a really interesting like experience, because you're taken out. Like there is no, like I don't know how many times within those 10 minutes, like there is no, I don't care about work. You could have yelled at me. Like everything becomes just unimportant, but in the most fundamentally amazing way, like not in a bad way. Like it just allows you to let go of it and go like really be like, what's important, like you being here, like all of that stuff is over with, and it really like can reset. So kind of bringing that back into like this book that I was like, because I and I've mentioned this a few times, and I'm not good at it clearly, but I do try to do supplemental research and like look at other things. So this book I was reading about being productive, it was this guy who was telling the story of how he was like, went to a coffee shop, he was trying to be all productive, and across from him he saw this guy that was peacefully just meditating, just sipping his tea back and forth. And he was like, how could that guy like be doing anything? He's just like sitting down. And then he wound up like talking to him, and found out that like that guy has been able to accomplish more things than he would ever be able to do. And what he was starting to realize is, when you're able to get into meditative states, or break out of the rat race of the constant thinking, your mind is able to settle and relax and let go. And when those reoccurrences happen, like when you go back out in the world and that person does cut you off, or that person does yell at you, or whatever the case may be, you are more foundationally balanced to reciprocate and just let it bounce off of you. Not to say that that'll always happen and that you won't still be impactive,
Right.
but it gives you, it's almost like doing a reset, and just like allowing you to kind of restart and go, oh, the world is fresh again. And then you can kind of take in, it's like when you first wake up in the morning, everything's great and wonderful until you step up and you step on a toy that your kid left on your bed or whatever the case may be, but into those first few moments are like, what could possibly go wrong, and so it just allows you to kind of get back into those moments. So I've been really just trying to like implement or like experiment with those two things, and it's been just a lot of fun. I mean, it's just something that you got to try something.
Well, something recently was really interesting with me was, at work we're having the decoration competition and everything, right? Mm-hmm. So I was making all the decorations, and I was going into a weird, like, manic state, because I'm going like, I have to get all this done. Okay, what do I do next? And I was going nuts trying to get everything done. And at a certain point, we got the extension and everything like that, because I hadn't finished what I wanted to finish. So Tracy got that extension until Friday, and I was like, oh, all right, I can actually finish everything.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, I'm not going to try and overcomplicate this. I just have to figure out the simplest way of doing everything. So I took a minute and I went, okay, what can I do? Triangles and straight lines. Triangles and squares. Perfect. That's what I'll do. So I I found a ruler really quick, and I was like, I've got it. And I just went like this. Measure, measure, measure. Cut, cut, cut. Cut, cut, cut. Measure, measure, measure. Cut, cut, cut. And I was like, I've got all these things. I know what else I can do. And I would measure, 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 cut, 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 measure, 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 cut, cut, cut. And I would only be focusing on those one things, but all of a sudden, once I was done with that thing, another idea would pop into my head, and I'd be like, I know how I can do that. And I would cut, 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 measure, 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 cut, cut, cut. And I would be like, and I would get to where I was done with it, because I knew exactly what I wanted to make and how many I was making. So I was like, I'm going to prep everything. So I got all the pieces, I measured everything, cut everything out, and then once all that was done, I just glued. I just went boom, 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 dun, 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 and I got everything done within like the last 2 hours. And I was like,
isn't it?
Why was I able to do this so fast, but all the other things took me forever to do?
Isn't it interesting that like we try to again, like we try to force like so much control over our environment and rightfully, and to accomplish the certain tasks and things.
Rightfully so.
No, that's why I stopped myself. But to accomplish goals and tasks, we try and control, just like you were trying to control the aspects of like the materials to make sure it was you created what you had envisioned. But there is this weird, again, like kind of balance or fight between that control side and you needing to surrender to it as well. Yeah. To kind of just die, and then like the first hours go by.
Yeah, the first couple of times that I was doing it, like hours really would go by, but I would get like 2 things done. Yeah. And I'd be like, I'd look and I'd be like, it took me an hour and a half to make this one freaking light. Are you serious right now? I'm like looking at him going like, it's a bitchin' light, but God, an hour and a half, I could have been making a whole bunch of other things.
Dude, so go ahead. We're gonna change that. I'm gonna side swipe. So when we were going, remember when we were watching John Wick and they were going to Casablanca, and we talked about the actual movie, and then we got into like 2-part series about and then we started
the
talking
old
about
movies, when you would have an actual VHS,
and we were talking about VHSs, and it reminded me of the first time that I VHSs is what like I grew up on.
Same here. I still have all my old VHSs.
I wish I had some of them because I remember I remember one. Did you ever have one? Like there was one time where we were searching through and we found a VHS, and we thought it was El Dorado. the Disney movie or whatever.
I don't think it's
is it
Disney.
Pixar?
I think El Dorado is DreamWorks.
DreamWorks. So El Dorado. Yeah. and we put it in, and we start watching it, and we're like,
why did you think it was El Dorado?
Because we're idiots.
Okay.
The movie was called Desperado.
Oh, that's a very different movie.
We were like, I think we must have been maybe like, no older than 12.
Okay.
Like 10 to 12, I want to say. And so we put in this movie,
and
of course, like, and you know, it's one of those things where like we look at it and you go, well, we probably can't watch this, and then we go, well, what if it's just El Dorado? You know, like you come up with like a story of like, well, what if it's just we'll just tell everybody it was El Dorado, you know? Mm-hmm. So we put it in, we start watching it, and of course it's Quentin Tarantino, Antonio Banderas, guitar case full of guns, and we're like. We were glued to the television. We were like, this is the greatest El Dorado movie we've ever seen. It was so much fun. We had such a blast. Oh my goodness. But yeah, those 2-part like VHSs, they'd come in those like big, thick like boxes, and you'd have to, and then the movie would end, and it would be like
Sound
interruption.
of Music originally had 2.
Oh yes.
Yeah, Sound of Music had 2 VHS.
It'd be such a bummer losing one. Like if you just put one in, please find, and you're like, what?
Imagine you actually lose the first one.
Oh no!
And so you have like you start the second, you're like, I have no idea what's going on right now. What's the content? Nazis?
Could you?
Where are we?
So you know how like and I heard, and maybe it's just like a rumor because I was really young like when I heard it, but I heard they filmed all 3 Lord of the Rings movies like all at the same time.
Yeah.
Like they did them like back to back to back.
Yeah.
Like what if it was just one film and then you like lost like the Fellowship of the Ring and you have to watch the 2 Towers, and what if you just had the third one? You lost the first 2.
I mean, the third one's great, but you're like, you get into it, you're like, wait, what happened?
You're like, oh, the Eagles really did take Frodo to the mountain.
The Eagles are like the biggest MacGuffin in that entire freaking film.
I saw this when I was younger. I saw this like YouTube video where it was like one of those like how the movie should have ended. And all it showed was like because the Eagles just taking Frodo from the Fellowship of the Ring right to the volcano, him dropping the ring, and then just then soaring off. And then
there was supposedly a reason as to why the Eagles couldn't fly over certain areas.
There better be, because do you remember? Because have you watched Big Bang Theory?
Yeah. Of course.
Okay, like I absolutely love that show, and it wasn't until that show where they ruined Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Do you remember this?
With the whole if Indiana Jones is completely meaningless to the plot.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Regardless of them, he's the reason they find the Ark in the first place, and without him, they still open it and all die.
Yes. I sat there, I watched that episode, I went, no. I did the same thing they did.
And then you watch the film again, and you're like, God damn it.
You watch the film, and you're like, you start coming up with like, oh, he beats the guy on the plane. Well, what does that do? I don't know, but he has the whip, and you're just like, damn it. It's like they would have never found that. Nope, they would have found that too.
But they do save it by saying it's still a great film.
It's still a great film.
Yeah.
But
regardless of how ridiculous that is, it's still.
It's such a great film. I can't wait for Harrison Ford to come back. You know he's coming back, right? It's been 100% announced. There is a new Indiana Jones with Harrison Ford.
I'm not excited about that at all.
Oh, I am. Okay. Not to say it like Keanu Reeves is younger than Harrison Ford, but
it better be retconning Crystal Skull completely. Aside from his marriage to what's her name?
Oh, Mary?
Yeah. Aside from his marriage to her, retcon everything else.
They probably can't. They're doing that with everything. Everything gets a
That's only because the only reason that stuff right now is getting a retcon is because they're not following the what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of people are not following the logical conclusion of a story.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's happening constantly to all these stories.
Yeah.
Now, what I did see recently, what I thought was really interesting, and I actually need to watch the movie, because I never saw Justice League. I've seen snippets of it, and it just looked terrible. But the Snyder Cut, I haven't watched yet, and I want to watch. I know it's a 4-hour film.
It's a 4-hour film, and I heard
it's actually amazing.
I will only say this, and this is the only thing that, well, because I've only watched halfway through.
Oh, you haven't finished?
I haven't finished it, because, well, like when it came out, and I really wanted to see it. I did watch Justice League. No, I was not the greatest fan.
It's not good. Justice League is not good.
I love the actors. I love the characters. But what the original idea, when the movie was debuted and the Snyder Cut was released and people watched it, and I'm not gonna we're not gonna overcredit them or anything like that, but it was really interesting what some people were saying. They said, and I guess some serious people had said it too, in the movie industry. But
is that both movies are canon?
But they had said that somebody from the Marvel universe had said that if this was their original idea and they put this out, it had the potential to rival Endgame. And I was like, what? And I only watched half of it, and honestly, if they would have, of course they would have done, it's very good, but of course they're utilizing footage from back then, and it's a different way of shooting it.
Well, they also gave them another $20 million to reshoot some stuff.
Yeah, it is. If they would have had this from the original conception, it is. I part of me wanted to agree with those statements as much, and you know how much I covet Endgame.
I do.
So that is that was a very interesting. All it's saying for me is I do want to sit down and give it its.
I want to actually watch it. I want to, because I actually like more DC characters than I do Marvel.
I have to agree. And the Flash is by far my favorite superhero character of all time.
He's fantastic. And the CW's show, The Flash, was just.
I'm still watching it.
It's so good.
And
I love Mark Hamill coming in as the trickster.
The trickster,
which is essentially the Flash's Joker.
Yes.
Which is why it was such poetic justice for him to play that character was so perfect, because he's playing the Joker. He's literally playing. I smell them in your pocket.
The Flash.
How many died?
Who's your favorite if you had, and you can choose DC, Marvel,
favorite
anything.
Superhero?
Yeah.
Ooh.
The reason Flash is mine?
It's I have kind of a tie.
That's fine.
Going. It's Batman, Flash, Martian Manhunter.
Well, Batman is terrifying because there's nothing inherently special about him.
Yeah.
But he can destroy everybody.
Yeah. No, one of my absolute favorite moments is in one of their newer movies, one of their newer animated films.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the Justice League again, right? So it's the first one where it's essentially what the live action movie was based off of. Uh-huh. So it's Cyborg, Flash, Green Lantern. I guess they didn't have Green Lantern in this one, but they had Green Lantern in the animated one, and Green Lantern meets Batman. Right? And Batman doesn't really take him seriously all that much, right? And Green Lantern's I've been away from Earth for years, I've been protected, and I'm the protector of this particular quadrant of space and everything like that, right? And Batman's just standing there, and he goes, what does this do? And all of a sudden he's holding Lantern's ring.
Yeah, Justice League War, right?
Yeah. He's just holding it, and Green Lantern's like, what the? And he just...
How'd you take that?
Yeah.
That'll never happen again.
And then he just walks away, unless I want to.
Yeah, it is terrifying, his capabilities.
Well, and what was great about that Batman, too, was his acknowledgement that he needed Superman.
Yes.
That was I actually loved that. I thought that was amazing. I'm going like, they're actually having him acknowledge that they need Superman. That was huge. His
analysis of things, and even like he was getting destroyed, and he was like, "You don't kill, isn't that right, Clark? You made your point, Bruce." But and there's something to be said about those magic glasses that turn him from Superman into Clark Kent.
I know. Here's the thing.
Do you think Clark Kent has a prescription? Do you know what your prescription is?
I have no idea.
See,
do you know yours?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I have no idea.
See, and this is what I'm saying.
Hold on. Before we go off on this tangent.
I won't. I'll hold it in.
All I wanted to say.
Locked.
Actually, you know what? Finish it. Finish it because you might forget.
No.
Finish it.
No, I don't, because look at this. I got it written down. So we're good. We're good.
All I wanted to say was WB had every opportunity to make the DCEU just as good, if not possibly better, than the MCU.
Oh, yeah, because they all had us at a younger age.
But
they're animated stuff.
They're animated. Just make that live action. You literally take those. You have them done.
I've always said the DC, and especially nowadays. Like, have you seen it? Like, so clearly you've seen Justice League War. Have you seen any other ones?
I've watched a couple.
There's John Constantine.
I watched that one. That one's good.
That one's so... John Constantine is so good.
I love Batman in that, though.
Yes.
He's so damn funny.
He is.
When the death things, this one has evaded us for so many years. And, like, he can't actually see them, but he seems to know something. He just goes, boo. To the one in front of him.
Dude, they're Justice League Atlantis.
Or Constantine's like house spirit comes up to him and goes, how do you deal with all this? I have a butler.
It's so good. They did a really good job. And
they did a really good job because they're going off of... I will say one thing that I didn't like from those particular movies was the interpretation of Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman just slightly bugged me because she came off as way more crass and thick-skinned than any other iteration I've ever seen of Diana.
Yeah.
She was way too like her mother, which is... Diana's supposed to be like the opposite of her mother. You know?
That's a fair point.
So that was the one... my one thing that I had a problem with those movies was Wonder Woman. And I'm like, I love Wonder Woman!
But even
She's
so,
amazing.
you're totally right. And I've watched like all the DC animated films, and they actually there's a timeline, and it's incredible what they're doing. If they could pull even 40%.
So we're talking about the ones that I have seen. I saw, is it Doom? When someone gets a hold of Batman's plans for all of his contingency plans for every person of the Justice League, and they kick him out, and then he and Superman have that conversation at the end. You know, are you so high and mighty that you didn't make a contingency plan for yourself? And he goes, of course I did. It's the Justice League.
Oh, so
and I was like, damn. Of course Batman came up with a contingency plan for himself.
And of course he
doesn't even trust himself with being good all the time. The thing. Come on.
Of course he's not that egotistical that he would think that he wouldn't need a backup plan for himself. And that's what's so interesting, because there's a lot more. Like there's Justice League Atlantis, where we meet Aquaman. There's one, the last one, which is like Apocalyptic War, which is kind of...
I don't think I've seen that one.
Oh, that one is so good. It's like Justice League War, but if Darkseid wins. It's so dark. It's so good.
Oh, so back to what I was saying. The reason why I brought this up was I watched... there's a YouTuber named Matt Pat. Huge YouTuber. He's got, 3 channels. He's got Game Theory, Film Theory, and Food Theory.
Game Theory, Film Theory, Food Theory.
Those are his 3 channels right now. And then he has
straightforward and simple.
Yeah, then he's got GT Live, which is Game Theory Live, where he does live playthroughs. But he did a Film Theory recently, which I recommend watching, where he talks about the Snyder Cut and the original Joss Whedon cut.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and he says, if you look at everything, both films are actually canon. The Snyder Cut is not a retcon of the Whedon film. And he says, the Snyder Cut is the good ending.
Ah, I see it.
He says, the Whedon Cut is the bad ending. And so that's why in the Snyder Cut you have those flashes to a future where Batman is teaming up with the Joker and Apocalypse is taking over everything, right? That's the future that does happen after the Whedon Cut.
Damn.
And you remember I guess it's in Justice League, I can't remember if it's at the end of Batman versus Superman. So Batman versus Superman, you remember the Flash shows up?
Yes.
And he says, am I too early?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's from that future.
Oh.
The Flash, that's Flashpoint. And that's why we get the Snyder Cut. The Snyder Cut... Yeah. The Snyder Cut, all of a sudden, in the Snyder Cut, everyone is doing stuff better and they're more team-oriented. You have the Flash actually fighting people and actually saving a bunch of people. You have... you get more background with Cyborg. You have, when they revive Batman, you see... not when they revive Batman, when they revive Superman. You see... like certain things like go off in Cyborg's head and everything like that, and you actually see Apocalypse talking with Steppenwolf,
right?
And Steppenwolf also looks so much better.
Dude, we have to watch this. We have to watch. We'll have to watch this movie and do a thing, because it's
but like I'm saying, like all of a sudden. Oh, but you haven't actually finished. Okay, you haven't seen the whole thing. Okay, we'll watch.
Yeah. So, what you don't know your prescription.
I do not.
So, I was having this... Yeah, neither do I. And I feel like the majority of people don't. I get handed it to every time I go to the eye doctor. I don't know what it says.
I also know that I place it somewhere and never see it again.
And I look at it and I go, well, I'm looking for a 20 and then another number, and I don't see a 20. I just see... I don't know what I'm looking at. And so then I put it away, and then... My twin has been here, and he has worse eyesight than I do. So I'm talking about it like with a couple of my buddies, and my twin's over, and I go, yeah, I don't know my prescription. Oh, Daryl was like, I don't know mine either. And I was like, yeah, nobody knows. And then my twin goes, oh, I know mine. And I was like, how do you know? He goes, because I'm legally blind, dude. Of course I know mine. It's like 20, and then he said it was like 2,045. I was like, what the? I was like, it's such a big what? And I was like, how do you figure out like your prescription? And he goes, most people or most like glasses, they print it on the inside of your like glasses, like on the inside. And I thought to myself, if that's true, which it is, how much of a dick move is this? Because when you take your glasses off, the thing you need to see to read your prescription, it's in a place that you can't. So I take my glasses off, and I'm like, well, what is that?
Let me see. Let's see, where you 5416.
5416?
5416.
See, who knows what that means?
5219.
I was like, me and Daryl.
My right eye is worse than my left.
My left is worse than my right. We all just looked at each other and we were like, me and Daryl was like, this the whole time? And Tony's like, my brother's like, yeah, they're almost always printed on the side of glasses. I was like, I've worn glasses for 28 years. I've never known that. I've never known that. I don't know why. I was like, what the
fudge, man.
But I just thought, and then I was so fascinated with it. I was like, but wait, how am I supposed to read this? It's so dumb. But so smart, too, because it's there. So you just, I guess.
You can give them to your doctor, be like, this is what I had last.
Yeah.
Test to see if this is still good. Which I might need to get new glasses, to be perfectly honest. I think that's only though. I don't think my prescription is actually all that bad right now. I just think I need new lenses.
Yeah. And sometimes just, you wear them all the time. You go in blizzards and sandstorms.
Blizzards, yeah.
At first I said blizzards and I was like, well, that's total nonsense. We live in California. There's not even been like a hint of a blizzard. And I was like, all right, we'll think of something that's less of a blizzard that's more applicable. Sandstorms. That's not it at all. Wrong and double wrong.
Unless you're somehow on a very windy day in the middle of like the dunes.
And where would you be on this continental Earth where you could experience blizzards? And
Middle East.
The Middle East. Okay. But anyways, yeah, so stupid prescriptions on the side of glasses.
I never effing knew that.
I know. So when you were talking about the scene where he goes, so after like he goes to Casablanca and he meets Halle Berry, which we haven't talked about at all.
Back
but
to
like,
John Wick.
Those dogs. Incredible. Well, it's funny because I'm kind of speeding through it, but not speeding through it, but that when he goes through.
Back home soon, just saying. So
I know that's why I'm speeding through. So they go through that, and but he gets dropped off in the desert, and then she takes that like swig and then spits it back in. And
the thing that I said.
Yeah, no, because I had told you. So like she takes a swig of water and then spits it back in and gives it to him, and I had said, "Oh, do you know about giraffes? How they have to like swallow their food,
you said
and
that.
spit it back up." So we went to this place in Arizona called Out of Africa, and it's like this like outdoor like it's like. And look,
it's an actual like safari type.
Well,
of thing,
it's a safari type that I will say this is, and who knows?
For
like,
me, depends on the zoo.
If it's like
a lot of zoos do a lot of good.
Well, we hope so. But it's a privately run like organization, and like, but all the animals are as free as they could be. The dangerous ones have like their own little area. They have lions and tigers and bears. Oh my! And
waiting for that one.
But they have this whole like safari, and you can go cruise around and see like hippopotamus and this, that, and the other thing, and giraffes. And so I'm with my girlfriend and my grandma, and we're there cruising, and we go on the safari, and we get to see a giraffe like real up close. And the lady's like, "Oh, I've got some carrots. Anybody want to feed the giraffe?" And like explaining the whole like regurgitation up, and then so like it eats it swallows, then comes back up, and then swallows again. Yeah. And then all of a sudden the lady was like, "Oh, does anyone want to like put the carrot like in their mouth and like feed the giraffe?" And I have like the giraffe, because the giraffe has like a giant tongue, just like anyone. Does anyone want to make out with the giraffe? The whole bus was like, no. This lady doubles down and goes, "I'm not moving until somebody does it." And then, of course, me and my ego, I go, well, I got this. So I like run up, get the carrot, like stick my head out, and the giraffe comes and just the full tongue just all over my face, just raw. And I'm like, just, it's like, I like dripping saliva on my face. And then I think, okay, now's the time, because I have an audience, because I'm at the front of the bus, and my grandma and my girlfriend are in the back. And so I turn to the whole bus, and I look at my girlfriend and I go, did you see that, babe? You better watch out. You got some competition. And without skipping a beat, she just leans her head out the bus, leans back, yells to the whole bus and me, and goes, yeah, that's okay. It's a male giraffe. I'm like, what? No. Speaking of my grandma, though, she loves the John Wick series more than I do, to the point where, like, and this will be the last story, to the point where, like, John Wick 3 was coming out, and this is one of those reasons why I think John Wick 3 like holds such like a memory for me, because like I took my grandma and my brother and my girlfriend, we went to Vegas, and it was the opening weekend of John Wick 3. So I promised I said, Grandma, I got you. We'll go to Vegas. We'll see John Wick 3. It'll be the first thing we do. And she just didn't believe it was gonna come through, and she's like, well, how are we gonna get the tickets? We haven't gotten them yet. It's opening. I was like, I can get them on my phone. It's fine. Like we're everything's fine. And like we get into Vegas, and she's like, Nick, when are we gonna see John Wick? Do I have to go without you? And I'm like, Grandma, I'll get the tickets. We'll go right now. Pulled them up, bought tickets. I said, Grandma, we got tickets. She said, no, we don't. We have to get to a theater. We have to buy the tickets. I go, Grandma, we got the tickets. She goes, Nick, if you don't take me right now to John Wick, I will leave you here to go see John Wick. I'm like, Grandma, that's what we're doing. I've got the Uber called. Everything's paid for. We're going straight to the theater. So we get in the Uber, and of course this is Vegas. So so we drive and we get dropped off at a hotel. Yeah. And my grandma freaked. She goes, see, told you now we're going to watch it. This is a hotel, Nick, not a movie theater. I'm like, Grandma, it's Vegas. It's probably in the movie theater. Hotel. I was like, it's probably inside. Let's just go inside. And so we walk inside, and we start walking, and this place makes us walk. Like, all the way. Like, it makes us go through every casino, every this, and she's just like, all right, it's not here. And then we see a sign that says like movie theater, and it's just an escalator that looks to go to nowhere. And she goes, well, it's clearly not upstairs, Nick, so thank you for this trip, and now I'm going to go find John Wick by myself. I go, no, just get on the escalator. And we get up the escalator, and there's a whole movie theater, and we sit down in the theater, and she looks at me and she goes, thank you. Dude, the whole reason we went there. Oh my god. The whole reason we took her there and like to go see John Wick and to take her to go see O, which is like a Cirque du Soleil like show. I love Cirque du Soleil. It was one of the things that she had only like her goals were John Wick 3 and O. And so that was the two things that we did. But like to kind of like as like a thank you, she bought us like this like the buffet, like a VIP like buffet like experience. So good. They had a seafood. So we sit down at a table, and there's like a little like sign that says VIP. Ooh, but they give us the seafood platter. It was these 3-tiered plate of just oyster and crab and.
Oh, I couldn't do the oyster.
Oyster's that thing on the shell, right? Yeah. So let me tell you about this, because Lexi, my girlfriend, always makes me try things. Like even if I don't like to, she makes me at least try it, which. You know what? Has expanded my palate immensely, and without it, I
might try it. I don't think I'll like it.
I won't ever do it again. It was the worst experience of my life. Because she goes, oh, all you have to do is you put a little like lime juice, a little lemon juice on there, you squeeze a little lemon juice, and you just like shoot it like a shot. Yeah. And so she puts some lime juice on mine, and I go, oh, man, okay, I'll just do the one, because they had a homemade crepe station right next to the table. So I just had to get through this oyster so I get to the crepe station. This guy made it homemade. He was like I wanted to befriend him or take the crepe machine. One of the two. And
we did befriend a crepe guy in Paris, and when I got to go,
that had to be the most incredible crepe. But
it was amazing. It was amazing.
So I try to take the shot of oyster. the oyster is stuck to the shell. So the only thing that goes into my mouth is the juice of lemon, which I'm, and I'm like, oh man, babe, I didn't do it right. And she goes, well, clearly, and so she re-ups me with lemon because she promised me that I'm just like doing it wrong. And so so I do it again. So second shot of lemon because it's not coming. So I'm holding it like this. And so her wise idea, she grabs a fork and tries to get in there and like scoop it out. And I'm like, what is happening right now? Oh, it was bottomless mimosas. And
that's dangerous.
My grandma was just kicking them back like a champ.
I love mimosas.
We went to Vegas one time, and we had been driving all over the place. Went to the like Grand Canyon, and we got to Vegas, and me and Lexi were like, "Hey, it's like 9:00. We're like, we're tired. We got to drive 6 hours tomorrow. We're gonna go to sleep." So we went upstairs, went to sleep. Woke up the next morning around like 11:00 and was like, "Oh, we're hungry. Let's go like get breakfast." And I was like, "Oh, let's wake up my grandma and we'll go." I go, "Hey, grandma, you want to go get some breakfast?" Oh, Nick, you're speaking so loud. I just got in at 5 a.m. I was drinking White Russians and playing Keno all night long. And I'm like, what? So fast forward to like this trip. She's just pouring them back. And Lexi thinks she can keep up. So she just starts going for it, right?
Sorry, Lexi. No, you cannot.
No. So then we go to the mile shopping. There's just a mile long like stretch where it's all like these like little like shopping centers. Yeah. And like we're walking, and my grandma finds a store she wants to go into. So I sit Lexi on a bench because she is just doing one of these. So I sit her on a bench. We go into a store, and my grandma's like picked out a few things and is at the cash register, and the cashier is like, "Excuse me, I don't mean to be rude, but is that lady over there with you?" And we look over at Lexi, who's sitting on the bench, just like. Just gone, and we're like, oh well, maybe we need to get her back to the room. So we get
black coffee.
We get her back to the room, and she just basically passes out. But the show we're supposed to go to is coming up, and we have to go see the show. So, and my grandma's like adamant, like she wants to see the show. So I'm like, I go, babe, we gotta get. No, I can't. I don't wanna. And I'm like, oh man, this is. I'm in hot water over here. Yeah. So I go over to my grandma and I'm like, hey, I don't know what to do. Like, she's really she's really feeling it right now. And my grandma just straight up goes, well, can we leave her here and go to the show without? She's fine. She's in bed. What can happen? Like, I want to see this show. And I was like, well, grandma, she bought the tickets. Like, it's under her name. Like, we need her there. And so my grandma goes, well, okay, well, let's try and get her up out of bed. We'll Uber her over there. We'll show her face. We'll get the tickets. We'll put her back in an Uber, send her back, and we'll go see the show.
Oh my God, that was a savage.
And I was like, well, yeah, we could try that. I go, well, Grandma, why don't you just go in there and see if you can get her up? Because I had tried everything. I went down to, like, McDonald's and got her fries and, like, tried to hold fries in front of her nose, like, and nothing. And then, for legit hour I tried getting her to like get some water, get the nothing. My grandma walks in and goes, oh sweetheart, it's time for the show. And like a pretty little bird, she's like, oh, is it? And she just flutters on up, gets dressed in like 5 minutes, is like from like dead and wasted to ready to hit the strip, and is like do like walking out the door. And I'm like, what is happening right now? I go, babe, you don't understand how much work I just went through. I bought you French fries, and that's when I made a mistake. Because we were walking, she's hungover, and she just realized that I bought her where are my French fries? I go, well, they're in the room. I tried. You didn't give me French fries. I never see French fries. I'm like, no, but I had that. And I'm like, oh no, this is so much. As soon as we get there, I buy all the snacks. They're like, what do you need? All of it. When? Now. We sit down in the show. She's got all of her snacks. My grandma's ready to watch the show. And of course, like, I always have like this thought, because like, like I said, like my brother can't see very well. So I was worried that I didn't like that we weren't close enough, or this, right, that, and the other thing. Like, it was my brother, my grandma, myself, and then Lexi. And so I turned to my grandma, and this is like literally the curtains are like coming up. And I go, hey, grandma, do you think, Tony can see? And she goes, I don't give a shit. And just starts, it's like, do you not understand how much, like, from her perspective, look at all that she had to accomplish just to get to O, something she already had tickets to. And bar none, she is the absolute, like, best. And she is, like, clearly, like, that's so much fun. Like, and so, anyways, John Wick 3... It was amazing. I can't believe we got through 1, 2, and 3. Yep. Surprisingly, there's a 4th. I don't know when. Yeah. Which is sad because it was like we had all these plans for things and it's like, when are they coming? Yeah. But anyways, until the next time, au revoir, c'est la vie.
Auf Wiedersehen, goodbye.
Niet. Is that just no?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.